Hey, konnichiwa minasan, it's Gray from Akasashi's Tea House over in Japan, and happy Independence Day to my American friends. I hope you're having a good one, whatever you're doing. Now, I have a review of Night Terrors Batman issue 1, which came out today on July 4th. It's priced at $4.99. It has 2 stories. The main story is 22 pages, and the backup story is only 8. Okay, first things first, I've got to say, this was a big disappointment. I didn't bother with the Night Terrors First Blood, the kind of intro issue, because I thought the art looked a bit sketchy. Didn't interest me. I wanted to focus on Batman because I'm a huge fan, if you don't know that. I've always been a fan of Batman. Been reading him since the days of year 1. So, yeah, it's basically, to cut a long story short, let me read from my brief review I posted on League of Comic Geeks. And this is it, my first impressions. I've read through it 3 times now, trying to find the story. Not much happens in this 22 pages of main story. We do get a lot of recapping of events most Batman comic fans will already know very well. The art's very mixed, even looking rough and rushed at times, which surprised me. Some panels are blurry. Now, maybe that's intentional for atmosphere, but I found it distracting, and I usually enjoy Gunnar March's art. There's one creepy body horror scene that is pretty effective, a decent moment, an actual wow, a horror moment, but it's almost spoiled by, you'll see later in my story summary. The 8-page backup story, Sweet Dreams, Annie Lennox, features Damian, and it's a very different art style for that one. It's bright, it's colourful, it's a little bit more manga-esque or YA you could say, but again, hardly anything happens, and it says at the end we've got to wait to Night Terrors issue 3, whereas issue 1 isn't even out till next week. Wait for that, for the conclusion to that Damian Wayne story, but I tell you, I'm not holding my breath for that. General impression was just disappointment. Now, if you do want a decent story, I would recommend this one. I'm going to try and do a proper review of it when I get time, if I have time tomorrow. It's Night Terrors Ravager issue 1. Now, she's a character I don't know very well, but this actually felt like a horror story, and it's got really good art by Dexter Soy. So yeah, I was happy with this, and as I say, hugely disappointed with the Batman issue 1. Now, here's a quick look at the coming comics, or the comics to come out in this crazy, scary month of July. Look at all these. There's a heck of a lot of them. So as you can see, this week we've got the First Blood, which I skipped, Batman, Ravager, and then there's also Black Adam, Poison Ivy, and the Joker. Didn't fancy any of those. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you're going to be picking any of these up. Okay, so that's it. Let's get on with the story summary. Now, I'll give you a spoiler warning about halfway through this. It's only a short summary. I'm not going to go into too much detail. But if you don't want to know the main villain, which is kind of given away already, I'll tell you where to stop watching. But anyway, please keep watching anyway. Here we go. We open a long time ago, and we have some of Batman's famous enemies trying to get into his head. Then we see Batman using an isolation tank. He wants to know his fears so he can keep his enemies from using them against him. Alfred is concerned and worries what it could do in the long term to Bruce's psyche. We flash back to Crime Alley. We see Bruce watching his parents die yet again. He says he will never lose the pain of that night. It's a nice visual scene with the boxes, the panels, but I don't know, I've just seen this so many times before. Then we switch to now, and we have young emo Bruce with a bit of The Crow, the movie The Crow, Brandon Lee. Definitely got a bit of The Crow look to him, his makeup. And yeah, it's Crime Alley, and he knows he's dreaming. There's a bizarre Raiders of the Lost Ark giant stone ball scene with Bruce's mother's pearls standing in for the stone ball. And then we switch to the Monarch Theatre, which again we've seen so many times before. The film that's playing isn't Zorro. Instead, it's showing Bruce what is happening now in the waking world. We see himself as Batman fighting some badly drawn monsters. And there's a character here which I won't spoil. Next, we switch to the gardens of Wayne Manor and the family gravestones. Young Bruce still seems firmly in control. He's saying that he's not impressed. "You don't scare me." Just before the villain reveals himself, he tells Bruce that he's just along for the ride, that it's Bruce who's in control here. It's Bruce who's controlling the tour of his own nightmares. Okay, at this point, let me give you a spoiler warning. If you don't want to know the form that the villain takes, the big bad of this series, if you don't want to know the form he takes in this Batman, then please stop watching now. Okay, if you're still here. We get our first proper look at the big bad of Night Terrors, and I want to punch him in the face. It's my honest initial reaction. It's like a bizarro Robin with a weird Mohican, hugely muscular legs, and the letter I on his chest instead of R. I is for idiot. Now I'm joking. It's actually for insomnia. And I'm getting flashbacks to an old dance tune from the rave scene back in Manchester when I was a teenager. After a one-page battle between Emo Bruce and some very familiar zombies, we get this long-necked zombie version of Selina Kyle in a gothic wedding dress, offering Bruce another try if he agrees to help Insomnia. This is followed by a rehash of the Tom King Batman is afraid of being happy idea. And I'm like sighing reading it. I'm just, oh no, come on. Which actually leads to the best moment of the story, in my opinion. In a creepy visualization of body horror, we see Bruce hack up a monstrous bat, which would be much more effective, much scarier, without the stupid gun sticking out of its head. I'm sorry, but I just think it looks daft. It looks silly. It looks off. Then we get writer Joshua Williamson gets Insomnia, the character, to explain what this creature is, where it's come from, why it has manifested, instead of leaving it to the visuals and the reader's imagination. Come on, show, don't tell, don't explain things all the time. And sorry guys, I'm done. There are still 3 pages of story to go, but I will finish my story summary here. What a big disappointment. In the 8-page backup story, it's a Damian Wayne story called Sweet Dreams. Do you remember the Eurythmics? I do, because I'm old. And it's a completely different style of art. I do kind of like it. It's bright, it's colourful, bit of a manga or YA style to it. And again, not a lot happens. In fact, hardly anything. We get a bit of a recap. We hear about what Damian's doing. So I'm not going to spoil this, but I got to the end of this it's only 8 pages, this mini story, and I was like, is that it? And it says it's continued in Night Terrors issue 3. Well, Night Terrors issue 1 hasn't even come out yet, so we're probably looking at either the beginning or the end of August for the second part of this story. Oh man, tell you what, I'm regretting buying this. What a waste of money, and I was looking forward to it. I apologise for being negative because I do try and focus on positives, but as a big Batman fan, this sucks. I'm giving this 4 out of 10. There you go. So, remember, it's only my opinion. You can kill me in the comments if you want. I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know what you think if you pick this up, if you read it, if you find any other Night Terrors issues that are any good, apart from, as I already mentioned, the Ravager one, which I thought was decent. So yeah, hopefully have a review of that in the next few days. And yeah, basically, that's it. I'm so disappointed. It really kind of not pissed me off, but I was just like, oh man, I paid $4.99 plus interest in Japan for that, for digital, and God, it was disappointing. I was really expecting so much more. Anyway, there we go. This is Gray from Wakazashi's Tea House, signing off for the night. Matane.